Deep in the heart of Kentucky, a man is building an ark. He doesn't think he's the new Noah, but he does think the Bible story may in fact be factual, and he wants to open a theme park to make the case.
The $100 million ark is expected to draw about 1.4 million people a year.
Folks here in Williamstown say the ark is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
That would be incredible to go see.
There's going to be scientists on site to talk with folks about what Noah's Ark is all about.
This is monumental. It's huge. It's, oh my goodness.
Did man and dinosaurs live together?
Folks in awe.
When finished, his ark will be 7 stories tall and a football field and a half long.
Kentucky's tourism department has awarded $18 million in tax breaks for a biblical theme park.
They want to set up the Noah's Ark theme park. That's all fine. I'm all happy with that. Let them use their own money.
People get off the interstate to come to the Ark Encounter. They're going to encounter this first.
The Ark Encounter is immoral, impossible, and un-American.
There's all kinds of stuff in there that's not in the Bible.
The Ark Encounter is a project which ultimately will entail 800 acres. And it's a 510 feet long ship set 12 feet off of the ground, and it's going to be about 65 feet if you're standing on the top of it. This is something I think that has a great lasting ability to be able to really introduce people to biblical truth and biblical history. So, yeah, I would ultimately say this is going to be the greatest thing I will have ever had a chance to do. This first phase is something like $57 million. The whole park itself is somewhere around $160 million. People will enter it from behind here. All of the queue lines that we have are all teaching queue lines. So basically, you're really kind of learning about the pre-flood culture as you walk along, really starting all the way from Adam in the beginning of creation. So the Ark is just one huge museum in the way that it functions.
am speaking, I think, on the relevance. I'm pretty sure. I do one of two talks usually, but I'm pretty sure it's on the relevance of Genesis. So kind of focusing on how that's relevant in our culture today and young people leaving the church.
I'm going to be here with you this afternoon and talk with you about creation versus evolution. Is Genesis relevant? And what we're going to talk.
We live in a very visual society, and we want to be able to bring that same level that you see, for example, at the Smithsonian, but without the evolutionary indoctrination, the evolutionary fairy tales, so to speak.
We need to educate our children from a very young age about the truthfulness and authority of God's word, because they are hearing all of this stuff out there in the world about dinosaurs and millions of years and evolution and big.
We know from scripture that if you look at the genealogies, especially those in Genesis chapter 5 and 11, it tells the names of people, how old they were when they died.
So we can actually add those ages up, and if you go from Adam to Abraham, you'll see there's about 2,000 years, and from other genealogies, we know there's about 2,000 years between Abraham and Christ, and then we of course know there's about 2,000 years between Christ and today, so that gives us a grand total of 6,000 years.
That's only 6,000 years, not millions and millions of years being possible. If we don't take what the Bible says in one part as true, then it becomes a problem for the rest of Scripture. And that's really what this is about. It is all true, or is only part of it true? Because if only part of it's true, then how do you know any of it's true? The Scripture doesn't need anything other than itself, because it is the ultimate authority, and it is true. So therefore, whatever it says is true, because it's the inerrant word of God. So, but because it's true, we would expect science to be consistent with it and confirm it, and it does.
We've actually gotten to the point in our home that we do not use the term Bible story anymore. It has been outlawed. We will say Bible account, Bible event, Bible history, but it's not a story. These are things that really happen. This is true.
One of our themes this year is about rescuing our kids from the evolutionary ideas millions of years, because it is just rampant in material for children, whether it be cartoons or books or school. We have a lot of stationary dinosaurs, as well as several animatronic dinosaurs. Because kids really are fascinated by them. And there's just something about, going out into the museum and seeing these dinosaurs and seeing all those things that you might see at a regular museum, so to speak, but from a very different perspective. Our design team has been working really hard on putting together an exhibit, donated to us. I think it's one of the largest Allosauruses ever discovered. And so that's just great for us to be able to display something just as fine as what the Smithsonian Museum would do, because we believe that these things are not millions of years old. They're actually only thousands of years old. But for some reason, after the flood, just like with a lot of other organisms, the animals weren't able to survive, and so they've become extinct today. As far as we know, they've become extinct today.
I'm very excited, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Oh, sorry, man. When a guy comes at you with a dinosaur femur, you get out of the way. Yeah. As a creation museum, this is great for us. We believe in dinosaurs. People think we don't believe in dinosaurs. We believe in dinosaurs. We believe that dinosaurs and man lived at the same time. The Bible does talk about creation week, and all the mammals and humans were created on day 6. So that would mean that they were on the same day.
Does it just have one clavicle?
Yeah.
I didn't
it's
know
a
that.
fused furcula. It's called a furcula. It's fused clavicles. That is a left.
Oh, that is weird. I think that it's just a really cool thing to have a real dinosaur of this caliber. This is a fossil created during Noah's flood, and so we're going to have signage that teaches about that idea. Oh, yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that looks nice. I like that. It's easy to read.
If there was a global flood, you would expect to find billions of dead things buried in rock layers, laid down by water all over the earth, and that's exactly what we find. We look at all these layers of sediment not as a record of millions of years of life on Earth, but rather as record of burial during Noah's flood. I just want to take a minute and thank the Lord for getting this in here. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much that you've allowed all this to come together. And thank you that we can have this fossil, and that it's just a really cool thing. Thank you for the testimony that it is of the flood, of the judgment of the flood, and then ultimately of your reality. And just thank you so much. And especially I want to thank you for Jesus. And it's in his name I pray. Amen. There you go.
Okay, we're going to get underway here. We're going to open and dedicate a new exhibit here at the Creation Museum. Before we unveil this beautiful fossil and the reconstruction, I just wanted to mention something about the new Ark project. It'll be open in 2016, by the way. The life-size Noah's Ark is being constructed. Okay, now if we're ready for the exhibit to be unveiled, we shall take down plastic curtain.
Is true. I believe that God above created me and you. So crazy thing, what you think? And it matters too. I don't believe in evolution. I know creation is true. I don't believe in evolution. I know creation is true.
When they started talking about the Ark Encounter and getting it all set up, I was really excited because I was still a creationist. Oh, I thought, oh wow, we'll get a whole scale model of the Ark that's not been done, and I really wanted them to really go into detail and show how it all could have worked. I prefer to use the term indoctrination. These ideas are very deeply embedded. You hear them over and over and over again that the Bible has to be history. If you believe in evolution, you're hurting the gospel. You're making it hard for people to get saved. Next thing you know, you're going to be a raving atheist, feminist, communist, and then you're just going to give up everything. I had a lot of people tell me that you're attacking God, that you're trying to you hate God, you are out to take people away from God, and I wasn't. That was difficult because when you grow up believing that this is the only way to hold the Christianity, you lose creationism, and suddenly you're like, wait, am I still a Christian here? What do I do? This is a picture of me and Kim Ham. I was probably about 16 at the time. And I said, hey, Mom and Dad, I am going to earn some money, and I'm going to be one of the Lifetime Jar members there because this is something that's important to me. And then they sent me a polo as well. It's a nice Creation Museum polo, still fits. And so I was really thrilled about this as well. I wore this to the Creation Museum when I was taking some of my friends there, and everyone thought that I worked there, and I was flattered, of course, about that. And I still have my my Creation Museum membership card. Where is that? It's got a nice dinosaur eye there, and it says "Prepare to Believe," and there's my name. And this entitles me to free admission with 4 guests and free planetarium passes. So,
why do you still carry that?
I don't know. There are a lot of gaps in just the average layperson's understanding of science, and so creationism comes in and fills those gaps with things that aren't quite right. They're just wrong enough to make it sound good, and that's why, as a creationist, I thought that I knew way more science than the average person because I had so much more information. I had all of these gaps filled in, and I just had them filled in with the wrong ideas. So I wanted to just share, if there are people who are interested in how creationism is based and why people believe these things, I wanted to be able to share my experiences, and that's something that people have been pretty receptive to. I've had a lot of readers, and I also sent it to the science editor of Huffington Post, and then it got picked up as well by the Lexington Herald Leader. The approach from most creationists has been very, very hostile. Stop being angry at God, stop being offended at God, God's waiting for you, stuff like that, and that's all frustrating because I'm a Christian. I haven't left anything. It's and that's just this assumption that it comes from evolution and deep time and all these things. They come from this philosophy of atheism that's where they're based, and that's just not true.
And it's 25 after, so we should probably be heading on. All right, well, we're going to turn right out of here and then get on this road, AA Highway. Here in Kentucky, we have lots of hilly topography. When the highways are built, they go through the rock and leave these outcrops behind, which are always wonderful for geologists and paleontologists. I mean, it's one of the great things about the Maysville area is the collecting is just so easy. Side of the road, it's a little bit gray area whether we're allowed to collect, but I've had state troopers help me collect before, so usually if you're not drunk or anything like that, they won't kick you off the outcrops, or at most they'll ask you to leave. People honk at you and sometimes throw beer cans. Well, I think I got this for Christmas in probably 1967 or 1968. And when I was in high school in the late 1970s, we had a little bit of evolution when we talked about genetics, but the chapter on evolution in the book was so cool, and I had all these fossils I was going to bring into class and show the teacher. We ran out of time. We just didn't have that. Darn, we just ran out of time. We had plenty of time to talk about the coaches' track victories and the track team, but we didn't have time to talk about evolution in biology class. And by the time I was in my second semester of college, it was a big deal here. The local community wanted creationism taught in the schools, and the school board was divided 2 to 2 with one undecided member. And I got involved in this quite early. I was writing letters to the editor pretty much end of high school and college, probably that summer. This is one time I really wish the James Bond jetpack had been perfected. It seems like always the very nice place to collect is something like this, where you have to climb over all this stuff and your feet will ache tomorrow morning from stepping on all these rocks. That's a pretty neat bottom feature. I'm not sure what it is. I don't know what causes that. It's interesting. I was thinking at first it might be a trace fossil of some sort, and it could be. But sometimes you just don't know. That's the strength of science, though. We don't say that we know it and then refuse to change our answer. In science, it's all right to say, I don't know. You might never know. You might think you know and might be wrong, but you can change your mind based on the evidence, not because of some sort of religious dogma. There's videos of Ken Ham on the internet talking to groups of school kids, and he'll say things like, when a scientist says certain rock is such and such millions of years old, what do you say? And he'll tell them to say, were you there? As if you had to be there in order to make an interpretation of the geologic past. And you don't have to be there. You can observe evidence in the present and see things and figure out, just like forensic science, what happened in the past. There's just so many different crazy things that would have to be changed about the world if we did things the way the creationists are doing geology. But that's my rant, I guess, for right now.
You ready? Okay. Next time somebody says millions of years ago, what do you say to them? Were dinosaurs on the ark? On what day of creation were dinosaurs made? 6 days. If there really was a global flood, what would you expect to find? Billions of dead things buried in rock layers, laid down by water all over the earth. Yeah. Next time somebody says millions of years, what do you ask? How old would most of your fossils be? 4,500 years. What do I call dinosaurs? Missionary lizards. But what happens when somebody says millions of years? Oh, were you there? Well, I think we've thoroughly taught you.
I'm Mark Loy, and welcome to another milestone in the construction of this life-size Noah's Ark behind me. It's going to be an impressive structure when it opens, Lord willing, summer of next year. Let me introduce Ken Ham, our president. He is the visionary behind the Ark Encounter, and he'll say a few words here, and then we'll lead you on a tour of the Ark. Ken.
Okay, thank you, Mark, and good morning, and thank you for coming. The Ark itself is going to be built up on that platform that you see. Now, that concrete platform, that precast concrete you see there, won't be visible when it's open.
The whole point of this park is to teach people that these biblical events were real history in real time that actually happened. So that's really what this is all about, that there really was a flood. It's not a bathtub ark. He created a real ark for a real flood that probably destroyed upwards of 10 billion people on the earth. You've got an ark that was created to save 8 people, and the rest of the population was literally obliterated because God was really unhappy with what he did. That's what the Bible says. I'm going to say come January, we, the design team, can actually get inside there and start, installing exhibits. So that's really going to be the next thing.
Yeah, but more water now.
Even more water.
Because you just barely want to adjust it.
So you almost want
tonally.
it just to be water with a little bit of yellow in it.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay.
Since the last time we talked, we were working on the Allosaur at that point, and a totally different team was working on designing the Ark. And I actually, at that point, I didn't think I was going to get to work on the Ark because we had a special team for that. And at some point, I was switched over to full-time on the Ark, and which is awesome. It's a dream job. Almost everything that you're seeing is going into the Ark to represent animals that would be on the Ark to be saved from the flood. A lot of people falsely think that Noah had to take 2 of every species of animal, which there's millions and millions, and people make jokes about that. Wow, that's good, man. But no, it would have been far fewer numbers, in just a few thousands, because just like, you've got dogs, you don't need all the varieties of dogs, you just need 2 dogs, and then you breed out everything else. So the same thing is true with all of the animals. So that's why the Bible specifically says kinds.
What are you cutting right now? some scientific name. It's a really weird looking, almost turtle looking thing. Got a tiny head and a really big body, but it's not related to a turtle. So these are all printed on our 3D printer. And then all these people. This is going to be obviously a Tower of Babel display. Panic, no. Occasionally I will lay awake thinking of, what's next and how strategically, how are we going to get all this done? We got our first furred pair of animals done. This is a saber-toothed marsupial. And then here's one that's all curled up and sleeping. I feel like this is what I've been prepared for all my life. And so I feel like that sort of hits me like a wave every once in a while, just purpose. Everybody who works for Answers in Genesis is a creationist. I actually have been a creationist as long as I've been alive, basically. But I actually went through a period where I kind of was questioning that. I thought, well, they seem to have some good points about how the Earth could probably be really, really old. And I was like, maybe the Earth is millions of years old. What does it matter, really? And then when I met Ken, and he just said it like, the Earth can't really be millions of years old if death and suffering came in when Adam and Eve sinned, because you couldn't have millions of years of death and suffering before sin if that's the case. So it wasn't that I came back from not believing in six-day creation, but at the same time I realized it was more important than I had even thought it was originally. This is actually grandfather of the giraffes, and then this is a classic Stegosaurus. This one's reclining.
Were they a lot bigger than that?
Yes, very important. On the Ark, we're assuming because it doesn't say, but it would make sense for him to take younger animals because they would eat less and they would have a chance to live longer after the flood. So it just made sense for them to be younger. Plus, they take up so much less space. You think of dinosaurs, you think, oh my goodness, he'd never be able to get those on the Ark. Well, the eggs of dinosaurs are only this big. T-Rex, when it was born, was only, that big. So you can have a juvenile with no problem. So yeah, Stegs got big. These things got really big. Not as big as T-Rex. That's what the guys are working on in there. I think a lot of people, when they look at these, will assume that they are raptors because they're so similar in size. But even though T-Rex got to be about 40 feet long, we're representing them as juveniles. I don't feel like I'm gonna just talk to you and convert you as you walk out the door. But I want you to see that I'm a normal person. I am not crazy, but I do believe in all of this, and any opportunity I get to talk about it, I'll take it. Hey, this ape's almost done. Just a couple little final touches. I think you've seen that in several stages along the way.
When you create a park like this, you've got to do two things. You've got to entertain people, you want them to have fun, but you also want to teach them. And so we have a section within the walled city, as I'm calling this entrance area there, where we will bring people through that will literally show them what we think was going on during that period of time. And it's a lot like walking through Main Street Disney, where you've got food and you've got entertainment and you've got crafts and you've got, things, gifts, shopping, all of that kind of stuff. So as you walk through that, plus, with the live entertainment and the shows that we'll do, we'll give you what our rendition is of what we think the culture was very much like. And it's going to be graphic in a lot of ways, so you can decide whether you want to take your children through it or not.
What would be in there that you might not want to bring your kids to see?
Well, let's talk about the society that we have today. We have crime, we have rampant sex out of marriage, we have all kinds of deviations that are going on within our society today. So much of it has fallen apart. When I was a kid growing up, everybody was married, everybody went to church, You know, and the American society was very different than it is today. God says that's the kind of stuff that I'm going to judge. And so that's basically the kind of thing, I think, on the more extreme level that we'll be showing within the walled city itself. You've got slavery, you've got bestiality, you've got all kinds of crazy stuff that's going on. And
how are you going to represent that?
You'll just have to wait and see.
Tonight, a biblical-based theme park is creating controversy. It's about whether the government is too involved in helping to build it. Democratic Governor Steve Beshear said the government is very excited about it and explained why.
The numbers alone tell the tale. This is a $150 million investment that is projected to create nearly 900 jobs, including almost 550 full-time jobs.
Folks here in Williamstown say the Ark is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The county went through some hard economic times several years ago, but they're hopeful that'll change now with the Ark.
It looks like a very Mayberry-type place to live and all. It looks very nice for the most part. It's a nice small town, horrible financial situation, so you understand why they're so desperate. I really feel sorry for the town.
President and CEO of Answers in Genesis and Ark Encounter, Ken Ham, believes the Ark will generate $4 billion in revenue and bring 20,000 jobs to the region over the next 10 years.
The locals seem to be completely snowed in by this. They were pretty much told that the streets were going to be paved with gold. The mayor even told the citizens that their utility rates would go down because of the Ark Park. It just seems so flim-flamish that I can't really envision things turning out like Ken Ham says they're going to turn out. One of the first things I did when I started opposing the Ark Park is I got a subscription to the Grant County News. So I was able to get a sort of an inside source of information. And I have lots of stories going all the way back from, like, this is 2012, Ark Park moving slowly. You know, they'll have guest columns by Ken Ham. They occasionally have op-eds by various creationists, including Mark Louie, one of the spokespeople for Answers in Genesis. This one might be replying to something I wrote. He didn't mention me by name, though, in his reply. Here's when they started some of the construction, Ark taking shape. People that visit the Ark Park, they have to pay sales tax. And Answers in Genesis, they get back up to like $1.8 million per year of the tax money they normally would send to the state coffers. So instead of the state getting the money, Answers in Genesis gets to keep a good portion of their sales tax. I got on the Answers in Genesis website, and I got on there and I looked at the employment thing, and lo and behold, there was one for a CAD, a computer-assisted design operator, specifically for the Ark Park. And basically what I found was they required the salvation history, the agreement for the Answers in Genesis statement of faith, all these different things that even included what church you went to and things like that. I've never seen a job, not even for janitor, that didn't require the belief statement. If you're getting any sort of public funding, and all at once you only hire certain people based on their religious beliefs, that contradicts the idea that you're actually helping the economy. You're just helping a specific religious sect. So I wrote the op-ed where I wrote the Herald Leader about the discovery that they were going to discriminate in hiring. Unfortunately, the Herald Leader said non-Christians need not apply. And actually, most Christians aren't eligible for jobs at the Ark Park. It's not just unbelievers and Jewish people, Muslims, Mormons, anything like that. Mainstream Protestants and Catholics and even old earth creationists would not be eligible for hiring. Americans United jumped on it and sent a formal letter to Kentucky Tourism about the tax incentive.
But one of the most frustrating things about this whole situation is that Ken Ham continually tried to play on both sides. He would argue that the Ark Park is really just a tourist attraction, and we're welcoming everybody. It's all right.
Mr. Ham, do you see this park as part of a ministry, as essentially a church, or is it purely business?
Well, actually, the Ark Encounter is a profit organization that's set up to give a particular view of biblical history. It's really
But then he would then tell his supporters that it was designed to proselytize and convince people of the truth of the story of Noah's Ark and the truth of the Bible, and persuade them to adopt the religious views favored by some fundamentalist Christians.
Think of a Christian facility
But I believe it.
that stands on the Word of God and 132 Ark bays with exhibits, and it's going to really show that we can give answers and challenge them that they need to put their faith and trust in the Lord Jesus Christ.
Wow.
So it's an evangelistic ark. We have many.
You can't have that both ways, and that's where we really had the problem.
Americans United for the Separation of Church and State contacted me and asked me if I would be willing to be party to their legal action. I readily agreed to do so because they thought it was important to represent the fact that there are religious people, deeply religious people, who are also uncomfortable with those sorts of government benefits going to a religious purpose. I think implicit in the idea of the separation of church and state is humility, that no one religion, no one philosophy has all the answers. And they are very confident in what they believe, and they have strong reservations about me. I'm confident in what I believe too. And I believe if you allow the free flow of ideas, that a more mature faith is going to do well in that conversation. And so I would just encourage more conversation, and I think as Scripture says, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
And at that point, December of 2014, the state basically said, no, we're not going to give you the tax incentives. You don't really realize until a particular religion manages to take over entire county and city government and get them to do everything they're asked, how important the separation of church and state is.
Park officials are seeking legal action after being denied tax incentives. The Commonwealth says it cannot give tax incentives to a company that, quote, intends to discriminate in hiring its employees based on religion.
The Ark's parent organization, Answers in Genesis, has launched a billboard campaign to bolster supporters. A federal lawsuit could soon follow.
Throughout this whole debate, Ken Ham continued to insist that he was not receiving any state support. And he would get mad when we said that he was.
And let me say this for all the media. Not 1 cent has come from taxpayer money.
Yeah, he won by a rather large margin, actually, in spite of being 5 points behind in the polls.
Governor Bevin is a fundamentalist Christian.
You could be an atheist and you would appreciate there's a lot of wisdom in the Bible.
He has tweeted pictures of himself visiting the Ark Park. The governor came in at just the time when it would have been decided what's going to happen with this ruling. And the governor had campaigned in part on the idea that he would support the Ark Park. Basically, the judge bought the idea that the Ark Park was just another tourist attraction and that it should get the same benefits that similarly situated attractions had received in the past.
legal win for a biblical theme park in Kentucky. A federal judge says the state cannot exclude the park from a tax incentive program worth millions of dollars.
We're thrilled, of course, with the result because the judge ruled in Answers in Genesis' favor. Tickets are now available online for the Ark Encounter.
I really wish there were more people helping me fight this. There's a lot of my people that I know scientifically just won't get involved in this. They don't want to take the time. They say, well, Dan will do it. And, you know, maybe if I stopped doing some of the stuff I do, somebody else would step in and do something. But people don't want to be unpopular. They don't want to say things that will draw attention to themselves. I've been the object of several Ken Ham blog posts specifically aimed at myself. And maybe people, they don't want to have to deal with basically bullshit like that on the side. I'm not really sure. It's like grabbing hold of something and it gets sticky all over you. And if they were to come forward and say very much against the Ark Park, they would have the people from the Ark Park breathing down their throats all the time. It's frustrating. I mean, people ask me why I spend so much time on this, and this is one of the reasons why. I mean, nobody else seems like they give a damn about it. I mean, I know they really do, but they can't really come out and say anything.
Why don't you leave Kentucky?
I'm tempted all the time. My family's all gone. Kentuckians have a difficult time leaving the state, apparently. It's one of those places you always say, I'm going to get the hell out of here, and you do, and you end up back here. I don't know what it is. It's sort of a cultural thing almost. What would Ken Ham do without me? I mean, he would miss me, wouldn't he? I mean,
The Ark puts us on the map, so to speak. One of my favorite headlines I ever wrote when I was at the paper was Ark brings flood of possibilities. I couldn't help it. I can remember as a little girl coming to downtown and skating in the skating rink. And the downtown area was always bustling on Saturdays. And then we went through the downturn, the economic times, when you could almost see the tumbleweeds blow through downtown. And now we're excited because we've got businesses coming back. It's awesome to see young people getting excited about the potential for our community again.
Okay, so this is Elmer's General Store. We've got hand-dipped ice cream, homemade fried pies, and other desserts. So we do the old-time malts, milkshakes, and the sodas and all this stuff. And then, like I said, we have the vendors, and we're looking for more. But we have experience of working Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge, so we know what a tourist attraction can do for a community. So we're excited.
When you're getting calls from places like China and Wisconsin and Missouri, and people want to know where can I stay and what can I do, we've never had that in the past. So you capitalize on that.
I'd say we serve about 50 at the moment. So it just, depends on your days, of course. You have ups and downs. But when we have music shows, we bring anywhere from 50 to 150. So we're doing fine, we can make it barely, but the Ark really will help our tourism and will help the people coming through the doors. This time next year, this town is not going to look like it is. I know they're already planning on having shuttle buses come and drop tourists off in Williamstown, so hopefully, they'll get an ice cream or listen to a song or two here, and it'll really help us. So Jimmy wrote this song about the Ark, and he's lived here. Jimmy, you've lived here, what, about 30 years or so? 20. 20? He's lived here longer than I've been alive, so no.
This song's an awful lot of fun for me. You guys ready? I went over to the edge of the light and looked into the dark. Yonder in a field somewhere, I declare I saw the Ark. Businessman stood next to me, he come to collect his bounty. They're coming 2 by 2, cause the Ark is in Grant County. Better keep a moving, folks, you know this ain't no trick. The Ark has been located on Highway 36. Exit 154 on Highway 36.
I haven't been to the Creation Museum in years and years. I grew up in central Kentucky, and I, of course, had a lifetime pass to the Creation Museum. Here I am getting a picture with my name on the wall of Lifetime Charter members. Very, very proud that I was on the wall there, and I think I may have subtly dropped that from time to time as I was talking to a girl from a Christian family. That's, you know, I'm on the wall at the Creation Museum. It was a big deal. This is I was street preaching in Huntington Beach in California. Did some street preaching. I've got some money-shaped gospel tracts there, and I'm explaining the effects of sin on the world and the importance of Genesis and the importance of the 10 Commandments and everything that goes along with that. I don't know, there might be a degree to which I think back to where I was and think what would have changed my mind.
Some of this stuff is new, so I don't know my way around at this point anymore. Hey, where are the charter member plaques? Are they further on, or?
It should be right down here.
Right down here? Okay. I was certain that I knew everything. I was really, really, really prideful in my knowledge of creationism and how I knew more than the scientific community, and I knew more than all of these people who are just accepting evolution without asking questions. I regret that I was a big know-it-all. Oh, this is a different person. This is someone else. This is someone who lived a long time ago, many years ago. And I don't think he'd recognize me. Feels kind of strange.
This is the king. King of the pre-flood world. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he talks in a King Julian voice. Maurice, you crazy fool. Welcome to my party.
Everybody will be rooting for the water to take him out at that point.
He has no name. We call him the king. So he's gonna have this golden helmet going on here. Yeah, he's just having a good time. It's a very, very fun diorama to work on. A lot of dynamism, and all these figures we started with a 3D scan of actual people. And then from there, we take it into the computer and we do a lot of resculpting, tweaking, changing, reposing in some cases. But it's really fun stuff. This is the kind of thing that you dream of doing as a kid, and get to do as a grown-up.
We're working out really the face of Noah. He's the iconic characters. So he's probably the most important character that we have. And then, of course, you got Ham, Shem, and Japheth, and then all of their wives. Noah has to be a very iconic figure because we're not only going to use him in pictures like this, illustration, we're going to use him in static figures and animatronic figures, and also we will recreate him in film as well.
You know, according to the Bible, he was, hey Pat, was
500 years.
600?
Yeah. So, I mean, he's probably equivalent of a 50-year-old.
About equivalent, yeah, in the look of about a 50-year-old, so.
50-year-old person who is in really good shape. Yeah. Coming on the other side, I'll show you what a couple of the other designers are doing.
These are some of the different face concepts for the wives of the sons. So just kind of pulling some different features from people from all over the world, so they show that it's a compilation of different characteristics. So obviously, we get to kind of invent that because we don't know what they look like. We get from the Bible that Ham's descendants went to the Americas, through Asia, Africa, and so we kind of have a bit of a challenge to kind of put all those kinds of features into the faces of Ham's wife and Ham.
Here, you know, you have Ham's wife. You know, we do research. We've some physical features here.
And so based upon the characteristics that we find, some gave you Asian, some gave you, you know, darker, more Middle Eastern features, some maybe gave you more African features, etc. Because you basically, everything literally comes out of these three couples.
Here's Shem's wife.
You know, middle brown color with brown eyes and brown hair. Some is a little darker, some of the people are a little bit darker, some a little bit lighter.
Idea of what? Like skin tone, eye color, stuff like that.
This is Japheth's wife, and this scene that we're doing is deck 3. And she is holding a paintbrush and a cup. And this torso will actually change the hand out, but the arms will stay in the same position, and we will use this for deck 2, where she's holding a broom sweeping the floor. So we try to reuse as many parts as possible.
We're going to do a peaceful demonstration. They have the right to build their park, but we also have the right to protest it, that this story is not scientifically accurate. And not only is it not scientifically accurate, it's immoral. The original idea was to put up a regular billboard for 30 days. And if we raised enough money, we'd put up a couple. This was just a shot to let people know we had it. If you gave us $500, you can actually take a photo of yourself. We want you all wet, whatever pose, take several poses, and we will actually put you in the billboard drowning in the ocean. So it got us a lot of press. We raised almost $10,000 in a couple days. The problem was the billboard company backed out when it got all this press. We didn't expect radio, TV, papers would pick it up.
Atheist groups' anti-Ark Encounter billboard is rejected. 2 billboard companies have refused to display an advertisement by an atheist group to protest the Ark Encounter amusement park in Kentucky. Tri-State free thinker, the president, Jim Hilton, welcome to the Bill Cunningham Show.
Thanks for having me on.
Now, why do you say genocide and incest somehow is part of the Ark?
I don't know how else to describe it. In the story of Noah's Ark, God drowns everybody. Now, some Christians will say that people are wicked, but he drowned everybody, even the innocent women, children, bunny rabbits, everybody. That is textbook genocide. I see no other way to describe it. And then he repopulates the earth through incest for the second time.
What do you mean incest?
If you only have one family, the only way to repopulate is having sex within that family.
They could have had some other family on the top of the mountain somewhere.
Noah's family and his kids. That was it. And keep in mind, Adam and Eve was through incest too to populate the earth for the first time. So this is the second story of incest. And if you go to Ken Ham's Creation Museum, He says incest is okay because God said so.
Well, if God says okay, it's okay.
No, killing people in incest is not okay.
Well, what are you going to do about this? You have two companies, Event Advertising and Lamar, that said nah, baba, nah. What do you do now?
A mobile billboard company reached out to us and said, we'll put it up. But then recently, with all the press it's gotten, he backed out for fear of his personal safety. He did not feel safe driving it around. So we have $10,000, and we cannot find a company in the state of Kentucky or Cincinnati willing to take our money.
Have you confronted Ken Ham on this?
Ken Ham we have had a back and forth through Twitter. He has personally called me out a half dozen times on Twitter. This morning alone, he has blogged about us several times. So the reason we call this out is it doesn't stop here. It seeps into our politics. It seeps into our lawmaking. And that's why we make a stand.
Well, you're a heathen that's going to burn in hell. And if that's the case, I will say a prayer to get you out. If you're lucky, you end up in purgatory, in which case I can help you. If you're in hell, you're beyond my reach.
Then I'll be in good company.
There'll be a lot of other hell characters will be down there, and you'll be burning, and there'll be a million serpents biting your legs for eternity.
Yeah, but see, again, you're threatening me with torture, which proves my claim that that's immoral. Just because I require facts and evidence should not be a reason to torture me forever.
Well, you're going to burn in hell.
I'm okay with that.
All right, what's your website, if any?
TriStateFreeThinkers.com.
All right, well, look, stay in touch.
All right, I will.
God bless
Thanks
America.
for having me on. How'd I do?
I'd like to go protest a protest. On July 7th, a group of atheists are planning on protesting the opening of Ken Ham's Ark Encounter attraction. Ken Ham was getting ready to be done with the Ark, and he texted me and said, hey, I just learned some atheists are going to be protesting the opening of the Ark Encounter. I texted him back and said, man, I would love to be there for that. I would have a great time. So here's the deal. I would love for you to help me get a team of people that I've assembled to the Ark Encounter so that we can protest the protest. At the end of the day, what's fun about it is these are people that right now, if my worldview is true, they're on their way to hell. I get the privilege, I get the joy, I'd say more than fun, it's joy of trying to go into these storms and rescue people and say, listen, you need the truth. By the way, don't tell the atheists that we're coming. My name is Eric Hovind. I get the privilege of traveling around and talking about creation versus evolution, and really we're seeing a resurgence of the creation movement. People realizing science doesn't fit the evolution worldview. Let's go back and rethink this. And so we're seeing the creation movement as a whole raise back up. Let me just tell you something. Scientifically, it is impossible to maintain a tiny human population for millions of years. And they say we've been here, humans have been here around 2 million years. The evolution worldview says somewhere between 13 and 20 billion years ago, there was a big bang. The idea that the universe came into existence instantaneously is exactly what we get out of Genesis 1:1. So the Bible tells us stuff, it's our authority, and science is going to confirm that. So I'd like to try to prove to you. So you have this idea of a lot of people believed evolution. Some people use that as an argument, well, evolution must be true. But majority doesn't determine right and wrong, you know. Jean-Luc Picard can tell you a lot about the Starship Enterprise. That doesn't make it true. I know people that can teach me a lot about evolution, and it doesn't make it true. The longest wavelength we see is red. Well, if God stretched out the heavens as a curtain, we would expect to see the longer of the wavelengths of light, which is the red of the light. And everywhere we look, guess what we're seeing? The red shift in starlight. You know, the fact that our vice president is somebody who believes in creation. I think that leads just even more credibility to the number of people out there that go, I don't believe this because I'm ignorant. I've thought this through. I've looked at the information. I've concluded this is the truth. And so, yeah, I'm excited that we've got lots of elected officials that hold to this worldview.
Do you believe in evolution, sir?
Do I believe in evolution? I embrace the view that God created the heavens and the earth, the seas, and all that's in them.
Right,
and,
but you believe in evolution as the way he did it.
The means, Chris, that he used to do that, I can't say.
But you don't believe it. You don't take a fundamentalist view of the 7 days of creation, do you?
Chris.
I'm just asking. Do you?
Chris, where are we going with this? Is it,
The idea that if even one part of the Bible is not true, that the whole thing crumbles is a very difficult piece of terrain to defend. And it seems obvious to me that science at multiple levels clearly has proven the Earth is more than 6,000 years old, and why some folks, in the name of their religion, I assume, choose to ignore that and to cling to a religious viewpoint that says otherwise is not something I fully understand.
I never heard anyone say that Genesis can be inspired, can be from God, and not be history. That God can give us something that's something other than history. That was just not an idea that was ever presented to me.
I believe the Bible is true in what it says in Genesis, principally communicating the idea that God created this world. And I believe this. I believe that God has a purpose and a will for this creation. That having been said, science informs how I understand what that creation is and how this planet functions. And there have been hundreds and thousands of years of progress in human thought since that time that help us to better understand the world that God has made. And I welcome that aid in understanding God's world.
It's like there's the little voice in your head that closes the door whenever you see evidence that doesn't fit your beliefs, and then opens it whenever you see evidence that you can make fit. And that's something that you know every creation has had a little guy in their head saying, "Wait, nope, stop, don't look at that," and wait, we can accept this. I was also debating anyone who would pay attention to me whenever I got the chance. You know, online I would find some poor scientist and be like, "All right, let me tell you," and so I would debate everybody I could, and then they would come back with really clear, obvious answers to what I was saying, and I would say, "Hold on, let me go consult my answers in Genesis material. Oh, there's the answer," and then I would come back with that. You know, because they have answers. They have a lot of answers. That's what they call answers in Genesis.
We have all these different DVDs, and if you stop to read all the different titles, I mean, it's on so many different subjects, anywhere from biblical authority to how is Genesis relevant in our culture today, to what about geology and what about the ape men and how do you explain dinosaurs, so forth and so on. So it's literally just the whole gamut related to science field to biblical authority issues.
A lot of people love dinosaurs and kids love dinosaurs. This is one of our most popular books, Dinosaurs of Eden from Ken Ham. And so books like this that walk through with really good artwork, and this has got some up-to-date scientific information in it to help the kids understand all about dinosaurs and things. Yeah, there are surely tens of thousands of families around the country using our different resources. So knowing that it's going out and influencing people it brings me great joy.
This event is called the International Conference of Creationism. We believe in the authority of the Bible. We believe that the biblical account in Genesis is historically and scientifically accurate. We present various papers. It's only creation that's presented. It's only creation that is promoted, as opposed to other scientific organizations would really promote only evolution. Well, this is the creationist version of that.
The growth had to take over a period of time.
The audience is being snowed. I mean, it looks like science, and unfortunately, it isn't. It's a parody almost of science. Answers in Genesis puts these things on their website they claim are scientific papers, and they can range from very densely written things to things that invoke miracles and all sorts of other stuff. There are people with degrees, but a degree basically means that you're capable of doing science. It doesn't mean that you're a scientist.
We know that from modern landslide.
You basically have to agree that the Earth's 6,000 years old, that Noah's flood was a real event, do all these different things before you could even publish a thing in their supposedly scientific journal. So your conclusions are, foreordained. It pretty much kills the scientific method before it even starts.
and we can start handing animals out by hand. What's the weather supposed to be for the open? Awesome. That will be perfect.
You know, driving by this when I was growing up, it was always, okay, all those layers came from Noah's flood, all those layers are about the same age, but actually getting out and taking a closer look, it's not quite so easy to think that.
You see stuff that's really fine grained.
Oh, wow.
See the laminations
there? Yeah, you can just, you can barely even see that. It's
so
like it's
things
painted
there
on.
were probably deposited really slowly, then there might have been another storm, and layer after layer of just...
Gotcha.
It's just so inconsistent with anything the creationists were claiming about the nature of the rock record.
Yeah.
Actually, this piece is actually better in there.
I know that there were definitely a lot of concerns about me when I first started writing this stuff. I surprised a lot of people, alarmed a lot of people.
Well, a lot of his family was invested in supporting the Creation Museum. And sometimes to turn against what your family believes can be heartrending.
I'm running the risk of really, really upsetting people I care about. I kind of feel like, if I can just explain why and how and all this stuff, but explaining doesn't always work.
It takes guts to go after something you've been raised on.
It's been difficult. A lot of people have asked, when I've been talking about this, was there a time that I kind of switched from, I was believing one thing and then I wasn't. It was definitely a lot of successive steps. A lot of small, gradual things. Learning, oh, I was wrong about this. That's not quite how it works.
And there's one day that I was at work on my lunch break reading about astronomy stuff and galaxies and reading about discoveries.
I saw an image of a galaxy that was running into the center of a galaxy cluster. There was a trail of hot gas coming out from behind this galaxy, 200,000-300,000 light years.
Basically footprints in the sky with paths that go way, way, way farther than anything has moved in 6,000 years.
And just seeing that and seeing, wait, if something can traverse, 200,000 light years of space, that they can't be 6,000 years old. It just can't work. I realized at that point that, I don't believe it. I don't believe this anymore. I can't believe this anymore. And so I was able to look at the universe and hear what it was saying. This is a new world. It's a different world than I thought it was.
busloads of kids going in there and knowing that children are being lied to and science being misrepresented is just, it's a horrible feeling to see that. Morning. I just wanted to touch base before it gets a little,
before
little busy.
It's big.
Yeah.
What's this I'm hearing about? An anti-protester?
Yes. Eric Hovind, I believe is his name, coming up from Florida. He's Ken Ham, I guess, personally affected him. That they're protesting. You should come up here and counter-protest.
We just want to make you aware. If there's an issue, we'll just let you know.
Okay.
So about 150 people. All right, just trying to keep everybody safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, as long as nothing's confrontational, we're good. As long as you guys are, doing your thing.
All right.
Have a good one, guys.
All right, thank you.
What would I say to people who scoff at dinosaurs being on the ark? People have so many misconceptions about dinosaurs. The Bible says God made all the land animals on day 6 beside Adam and Eve, all the kinds. So he made each kind. And each kind of land animal was represented on Noah's Ark. So what we today call dinosaurs were represented on the Ark. See, people haven't been given these answers. They haven't been taught genetics correctly, haven't been taught about speciation and natural selection correctly. We're going to correct that in here and undo the brainwashing that's occurred through. And I encourage you, when you come to Answers in Genesis, talk to our PhD scientists. You won't understand what they're saying, but talk to them.
What's really going on here. So we're excited about what God is doing and how the truth will be presented today. It's going to be fantastic.
Let's just see what he does. Okay. And then we'll get the police to escort him if he's a problem.
Okay.
Because tell him actually we have written permission by the state to be here. Okay. He doesn't.
This is going to be fantastic. We are going to correct you guys on some of the misstatements you guys are
Good luck with that. I'll give you time to get set up and everything, and as long as we're all in agreement, we'll be fine. We'll work.
As long as you guys agree with me, we'll be great. We are actually here all about science and reason. The Ark was built with science and reason. Look at what a magnificent structure it is. Disneyland quality, some of the very best stuff that's ever been built. I think the atheists should be proud and say, Christians, I can't believe you've used science and reason so well.
Let's not engage them. Let's not talk to them. Let's have zero conversation with them. But what I want you to do is stand in front of the sign, in the back of the sign, for every sign they have.
I would prefer if they go over there, so we're less likely to have confrontations.
See, are they the ones in the black shirt?
Yes.
Oh, that's that right there.
Yeah, thank you.
No, this is me. I made all these signs myself. I haven't asked people to come at all. I'm telling you, I have not asked anybody to show up here at all.
Thank you. I want to be a little different than what you might be, say, in church or at some special meeting. Normally, I know you're told to turn your cell phones, your smartphones off, put them in your pocket, turn them on to vibrate. I want you to make sure they're on. We want you to tweet, we want you to blog, we want you to post, because we want 7 billion people to come here. 43,000 families or individuals that gave 123,000 gifts. That's you. Thank you for being a part of this ministry.
Mary Kay's
This park tells people that evolution is not true. Science isn't true. The Earth is only 6,000 years old. This is ridiculous. But keep in mind, we didn't build a park based on genocide and incest. We're just advertising for them and calling it what it is. And now we've changed the conversation.
Anybody want to engage in good dialogue?
Actually, we do know that it never happened.
No, we know that it actually did happen. Okay, why are you protesting?
I'm a Kentucky resident.
Yeah.
My money shouldn't be going to
Okay, do you realize
Tax break there, here a break, there a break, everywhere a tax break. Park encounter is a shame.
Parking on the right. Take a right.
time, on behalf of the city of Williamstown and the state of Kentucky, I would like to officially declare the Ark Encounter open.
Few final items as we get ready to unload. The entrance to the Ark is on the right-hand side, the way that we're looking at it, over near where the zipline tower is.
Yeah, the visual impact of a structure like this is just crazy. It's astounding. I'm really excited. I don't want to be, but I am. It's just insane how big this thing is. It's really big. It really isn't what I expected at all for this initial entrance area. You know, so there's a part of me that's just super thrilled that it's here, just because it's really cool to see. Even if it can be a little bit frustrating to think about. It's just massive. There's no denying that.
You know, this might be some people's definition of hell. I've never smoked marijuana, but if somebody offered me a hit of acid right now, I think I'd take it. There we go. Another baby dinosaur. Who knew that Adam and Eve sacrificed dinosaurs? Look at that.
Science denial is huge. Creationism is one of the most far-reaching examples of science denial. Creationists have been pretty vocal, and they're going to continue to have dinosaurs, they're going to have flashy exhibits, they're going to build new museums, and they're really going to try hard to leverage everything they can.
It took us several decades to build the Ark. Why don't I look 600? What do you mean? I look about the same age as any other 600-year-old person I've met. Well, except for my wife. Of course. She doesn't look a day past 400.
Weird saber-jawed carnivore, but it's not related to cats apparently, even though it looks like them. Are they like pre-turtles, or the turtle super kind? We don't know. I think these are the T-Rex kind. It's all racy in here.
This is where they enjoy watching animals hurt people and they'll come in and see the giant faces and if they're looking up and look like that. Then they have underwear and stuff.
Of course, us Kentuckians like to say that you can't say anything nice, don't say anything. I can say positively that the building is nice, it's beautifully constructed, and amazing amount of work. As far as the content, however, of course, I have a much more negative view. I really even hate to say bad science or pseudoscience, the anti-science and non-science is depicting the age of the Earth, the universe, claiming that all the world's sedimentary geology is the result of Noah's flood. Pieces of evidence that they try to use for that are really, really bad. They've been debunked for years. It's bullshit. I mean, there's just not a fair word, scientific word to describe. And of course, this will follow Kentuckians wherever they go. Kentucky always has had the backward image as being non-scientific or anti-scientific. And now people, besides saying, oh, you're from that place where that crazy creation museum is, oh, you're from the place where the Ark is.
What's it meant for downtown Williamston?
Nothing. I was one of these believers that when the Ark came, it just everything's going to come in.
been here. It's not done it, Joe. It's not done it. I think the Ark's done well, and I'm glad for them on that, but it's not done us good at all.
And I was very direct with them. You know, when somebody asked me if you were getting any taxes from it, I can't lie about it, you know. You know who? Ken. He sent me a letter, yeah. It wasn't the friendliest letter in the world. He just was a little upset with me, and I agree with him. I should promote it, but, you know, I do. But he didn't like what I said about a couple of things, you know, and I hated that he was angry. Well, I don't say he was real angry, but he was pretty straightforward. Well, let me tell you something. Nobody in the Ark's coming into town. Maybe 8 cars a day, and then they drive through and there's nothing here. And I hate it too, because this used to be a wonderful little town. My hope is that it is successful, really. We're hoping some restaurants will come in here, but I haven't heard anybody or anything coming in right now to Williamstown. I was as much shocked as you, and when it closed, I didn't know it was going to close, even though I knew they weren't doing well. And I know he thought this was going to be the new Gatlinburg. That's a shame.
Well, of course it's in Kentucky because they're a bunch of religious zealots or they're part of the Bible Belt. You know, those kind of comments, I think those are generalizations that are very unfair. I've had people say, well, do you believe the theory about the dinosaurs? Do you believe, you know, how old the earth is? And I said, I'm not going to address any of that. Religion is a personal choice. It is the way you view the world. It is, you know, I don't know how to explain faith to somebody. It is the thing that is hoped for and unseen. But again, when you're talking about the Ark itself, as a community, we have to put that aside. And it comes down to, we are home to the Ark. It is a business, it is an attraction, and it is bringing people here. So we have to capitalize on that if we want to move forward and grow and be successful. And I am very optimistic that we can do those things. Time is what it's going to take.
I've lost the sense that I have to be right. I've lost the obligation to always be correct and always be this authority. I've lost that sense of obligation and that hunger that I have to know everything or otherwise everything's going to crumble. I would definitely be interested in writing about how the current political climate has changed the way we look at creationism. These things are being turned into policy, and we're seeing that impact, and I'm really worried about what that impact is going to be.
Do you miss Kentucky?
No. I can't say I miss Kentucky much.
Yeah. The Ark has been good for business. That is an understatement. The attendance here has doubled. Yeah. Yeah, we're actually doubling our leach beds and our sewage and all that stuff on property because of it. We have no choice. Since this is so much of the biblical history, there's only a little bit of evidence. There's only a little bit of fossil stuff. There's only a little bit of that kind of stuff. So what we want to do is put another museum over there that really focuses on evidence. We own 50 acres here, so we've got room to grow. It's doing good. Yes.
Our next speaker is Daniel Phelps, who is a Lexington native. He's the recent winner of the prestigious National Center for Science Education's Friend of Darwin Award.
Well, of course, I'll remain Ken Ham's nemesis as long as he's here in Kentucky. Reality based on the weight of evidence. Thank you very much. And he better behave himself. Ham is more complex than people realize, I think, but he has a business ability about him that he's a good propagandist. He's a wonderful propagandist. He holds the whole thing together. Within a few years, he had the Creation Museum and eventually had the Ark planned. Like I've said before, I sort of feel like I've failed, basically, fighting this. My goal was to make sure that they didn't get the tax incentive money, which is $18.25 million over a 10-year period. So I feel I lost major on that. It was just something that I put a lot of time in, and it just didn't work out. You can't have everything work out. I remember when I was a little kid, my dad took me downtown without letting my mother know, and we watched the movie Patton. And I'll never forget the opening scenes where Patton's talking to the troops and saying, someday you're going to have your grandkids ask you, what did you do in the war? And you can tell them that you shoveled shit in New Orleans or you actually went out and fought. And you can say, well, I posted stuff to Facebook. Or you can say, I actually went out and at least tried to do something. And I think at least I tried. Of course, this problem isn't going to go away in our lifetimes, or maybe even our children or grandchildren's lifetimes. The creationist movement will be with us for a very long time.
Now, here's another exciting part of the project. Rebuilding Noah's Ark, that's only phase 1. We have other phases planned as well. We've master planned an entire park to go with Noah's Ark. We have, for instance, a petting zoo, a stage for live animal programs, a children's area, a Tower of Babel with a 5D theatre, a ride through the plagues of Egypt, a first century village, drama theatres, pre-flood village, amphitheatre, all to help people have an encounter with God's word.
Senator McCain, this comes from a Politico.com reader and was among the top vote getters in our early rounds. They want a yes or no. Do you believe in evolution?
Yes.
I'm curious, is there anybody on the stage that does not believe in evolution?
I've come to understand that. All that stuff I was taught about evolution and embryology and Big Bang Theory, all that is lies straight from the pit of hell. I don't believe that the Earth's been about 9,000 years old.
I personally believe that this theory that Darwin came up with was something that was encouraged by the adversary.
Asking about evolution, and it's a theory that is out there. It's got some gaps in it, but in Texas we teach both creationism and evolution in our public schools, because I figure you're smart enough to figure out which one is right.
All right, we're going to go through some interesting news items the past few days. The first one involves a group called 137 Films that asked for access to our designers and others associated with building the Ark, and they wanted to come and film for a documentary. So 137 Films from their website says creationists have built a $100 million, 510-foot Noah's Ark with the express purpose of debunking evolution. Wrong. It's science versus religion. And over and over again.
What do they mean by science?
Yeah, over and over again we say it's not science versus religion.
That's right. It's religion
versus religion.
Exactly. The thing is, they don't want to admit that evolution really is a religion. I mean, molecules demand evolution.
Right.
It's a belief. Again, it's this attempt at brainwashing and indoctrinating the public that I don't believe these creationists because they're not real scientists, and that's religion. Real science believes millions of years, believes man evolved from ape-like creatures.
Well, they say
and
we're
so
going to
on.
have rides at the Ark Encounter, like a Tower of Babel ride, things like that. I mean, is that kind of stuff really going to happen? I mean,
Well, it'd be a different sort of ride. It's not a ride for an amusement park.
That's right.
It'd be just like a people carrier to carry people through
Yeah.
maybe the history. Anyway, this 137 Films is trying to raise money for their documentary. They want to get it shown in picture theaters so they can try to indoctrinate and inoculate the public against the Bible. But that's the way it goes. Hey, here's a piece from Publishers Weekly, and